Chapter 2. Nellie and Pascal pushed past trees and through scratchy bushes. Pascal, are we lost? Nellie asked. No, Nellie, he said. We'll be up to the road soon. When we get there, how are we going to know which way to go? I'd be scared, Pascal. Master's going to catch us. Pascal took her hand in his weak, twisted one. He was frightened, too, but he had to be brave. It's just that Gideon's impatient, Pascal said. He'd be coming back for us soon. Pascal thought back. Mama had tried to keep Gideon out of trouble. He sometimes struck a burr under a saddle to make a horse throw the overseer, but one day he was caught, and he had planned days when the young slaves all slowed down in the field. Sometimes he got blamed for that, too. He got whipped all the time, but he kept on until Master grew angry and found a buyer. When Gideon found out that he had been sold, he ran away. They hadn't heard from him, and Mama had wondered if he was still alive. Mama had 6 children, all boys. 4 of them sold away. Gideon, who ran, and Pascal, who was the youngest. He couldn't even remember his older brothers' names, let alone where they were. Should he have followed Gideon? Yes, Pascal decided. Gideon needed Pascal, and he, Pascal, needed Gideon. They were family, Nellie too, and nothing was more important than family. Pascal sighed and said, Just think, Nellie, we won't be running errands, fanning breezes, or shooing flies for Master no more. We free children now. He had to distract her. She nodded. No more whippings at the whipping tree? She squeezed his hands. I hope. To make her feel better as they climbed, he practiced animal sounds. He imitated an owl. What's that? Screech owl, she whispered. He chattered in a high voice. What's that? Squirrel. You're a regular woodland all by yourself, Pascal. And this? He stopped, made a call, and grunted. A deer. As she spoke, a fawn stepped out of the bushes, looked at them with large, innocent eyes, and scampered away. Pascal was thrilled. He really did make a good animal imitation. He asked, You know what a moose wife is called? No. Deer. They both giggled and walked on. When they climbed out of the bushes into a dirt road, Pascal stared up and down. Where was Gideon? Had he left them? Pascal felt sick to his stomach. Nellie pointed. I'd be hearing voices that way. As they ran, Pascal stayed close to the grassy ditch along the roadside and kept Nellie with him, both ready to hide in the ditch. He carried his stick in his strong hand. Around a bend, he saw Gideon talking to a colored soldier. That seemed safe. Pascal and Nellie ran up. Where you been? Asked Gideon, laughing at them. Pascal didn't answer. He felt blood rush to his face, and his heart was pounding. Gideon was good-hearted, but he didn't always act that way. Mama said slavery had set a fire of anger deep inside Gideon. The soldier slapped Gideon's back. Of course I seen you. Can't miss a tall, thin African like you. Didn't you follow General Sherman from Atlanta to Savannah? Yes, sir, said Gideon. I dug latrines and graves. This crap I got be off a dead soldier. The boots, too. The war's most over, said the soldier. I finished duty and be on my way home. I hope you find a place to farm, son, Gideon said. I hope you find your family well. He turned to Pascal and Nellie. Come on. First we gotta escape Master. He shook his head sadly. Lordy, but I miss Mama. I was so looking forward to seeing Mama. Knapsack and folding shovel on his back, Gideon took them each by a hand. They had to run to keep up with his long leg strides. Now, this was the way it be, he said. At every town, big enough, while you two hide in the woods, I'm going to ask if they got Freedman's Borough. We want land in South Carolina. Can't we ask with you? Pascal said. Freedman's Borough? Freedman? What a beautiful word, he thought. For a few moments, Gideon didn't speak. You take care of Nellie here, he said, just in case some white men get mad. I'll do the finding out. Across Gideon, Pascal glanced at Nellie. She looked as frightened as he felt. One after another, Nellie was twisting her braids. Pascal knew he could be brave, but at the same time, he was terrified. Was it safe to go with Gideon? What kind of freedom was this? Pascal had always fought thought freedom would be like Joshua in the walls of Jericho in the Bible. Inside the walls of slavery, they were bought, sold, separated from family, whipped, kept hungry, and sometimes worked to death. But God would rise up Joshua and blow a horn, and colored people would all shout, and those walls would come tumbling down forever. That would be freedom. Gideon went on. This place called Freemansboro, where they given out land to men with families. Pascal frowned. You ain't a man, and you ain't got a wife, he said. Gideon jerked Pascal's hand. Ain't nobody saying I ain't a man when I sign up for my 40 acres. If I ain't old enough, I'm tall enough. Nellie gazed up at him and nodded. Pascal sighed. The way he figured, he himself was 12, or maybe 13 years old. He didn't know his springtime birth month exactly, and that meant Gideon was only about 16 or 17, but Gideon was tall. Maybe they could get that family farm after all. For the first week of escaping, they traveled the road by night and rested, hidden in the woods by day. Pascal's feet were soon bleeding from the stones in the roads. Leaning on his stick made his good hand sore, and he was sleepy day and night. Sometimes his eyes were closed, and he let Gideon drag him along. Nellie moaned in her sleep. She must have been tired as well, but she never admitted it. Gideon had money for bread and cabbage. They drank from creeks and ditches. The first time Gideon went into town and then returned to the woods, Pascal asked, What'd they say? We can get our 40 acres here? No, said Gideon. Man said he don't know about no freedom for slaves. He said go back and plant the master's fields, but his white face say it be a red-faced lie. Nellie shrugged. I don't much like it round here nowadays. Too close to master. Next place gonna be better, Pascal said, nodding. At the next stop, Pascal asked the same question. No, his brother said. They say we crazy to be thinking slaves could be smart enough to farm land. Say go back. At the next town, Nellie asked, What they say, Gideon? Do they got our land? No, man. Want to know who told me? I said General Sherman, and the man cussed and shook his fist. The next time Gideon returned, Pascal asked, but Gideon didn't answer. His cheek was swollen, and the skin under his eye grew purple. That evening, Nellie held a cool rag wet at the ditch on his face. In the second week, since they were farther from master, they walked in daylight. It was easier for Pascal to sleep at night and stay awake in the daytime. Pascal, Nellie said one morning as they sat eating, I used to dread growing up. Wasn't nothing pleasant to look forward to. Now I feel different, she sipped water. After the overseer shot Mama dead, I felt dead too, said Pascal. My own wonderful Mama, and I couldn't save her. It was hard to believe at first. I felt helpless, empty in my heart. After a while, I was sad. Then I began feeling mad at her for getting herself killed. He chewed a crust of bread. I got sold right after my mama died giving birth. I hardly even saw her, and I don't know what happened to the baby, Nellie sighed. Different old aunties raised me, but I wanted my own mama. I be so thin. I think first Master thought I was gonna die too, so he sold me. But now we be free children. What do you reckon owning land will be like? Pascal stretched out on the ground and put his hand behind his head. We'll wake up singing and go to bed laughing, he said. Mama used to say joy was peace dancing and peace was joy resting. We be having both joy and peace. Gideon glanced over. The green grasshopper's gonna call, yes, boss, he said, and the white daisies will bow down as we colored landowners strut past. Nellie giggled. I still can't believe it. Believe it, said Gideon, tearing off bread. Slavery been an embarrassment to the white man. That's what them Union soldiers told me. Now things gonna be different. We got a right to be free. That's what I learned from soldiers. And I learned reading and writing. Big Irishman taught me for 2 years. He caught a shot in the chest. Gideon covered his face with both hands. As he died, Gideon said in a muffled voice, I rocked that white man in my arms like a baby. Me and some others dug his grave. He patted his shovel. Now, thanks to him, I be ready for freedom. We may have to go all the way to Georgia. Maybe they be having a freedman's bureau there. Little by little, Pascal was learning what his brother had been doing those 2 years. Gideon stood, and they started walking for the day. A colored man and woman walked up to them. Please, can you spare some food? We ain't eaten for 2 days. Gideon, always generous, gave them bread. Farther along the road, a group of colored men called, You all hear of any word they hiring for pay? No, said Gideon, but I think they given out land in Georgia. In spite of the disappointment, the farther he walked from the master's plantation, the freer Pascal felt. The trip was like a holiday. On the roads were hundreds of soldiers going home after battle, and hundreds of freed slaves looking for a better life. The lanes were almost crowded. Since Pascal had seldom left his master's plantation before, this was exciting. Pascal knew the freedom folks all wanted a better life, but he also knew it took courage to look for it after being slaves all their lives. White people had called slaves dumb and lazy, but most slaves knew better. Pascal worked at the big house and knew how many dumb things white people did, and slaves were always outsmarting the master about egg laying, tools breaking, and pig births. Not even the overseer knew what happened in the fields, yet even so, it could be scary for slaves to run away to freedom. Each small farm Pascal passed gave him hope that one day they would have a little family farm too. Now he had a family and a future. He promised himself to fight to keep them. As they walked, Pascal saw several lanes leading to plantations, where curtains flapped sadly in the broken windows of the big house. At one mansion, a cannonball had torn off half the roof. White children peeked from an open room. Pascal looked at them and said to Nellie, Southern white folks be plenty angry at the North. President Lincoln's trying, but this freedom ain't gonna be that easy. A man walked up. Please, y'all know my daughter, Miranda Smith? She cooked for the masters. The man held his hat across his chest. She was sold 5 years ago. No, sir, Pascal told him. Gideon offered him bread. Gideon, said Pascal, I've been looking at folks. You know we got 4 brothers that were sold to masters out there somewhere. Gideon grunted. I found one. Talked to him just before he died. Came upon a man that looked like Mama, but he was light in skin color, you know. I asked him if he come from South Carolina and said he was sold from there as a boy. When he said his mama be Jerusalem City, I knew that he be our brother. When I told him I be Gideon, his baby brother, he smiled and died. Really? Said Pascal. What'd he be like? Tall and thin, light, name of Galilee. Looked like Mama's nose and smile. Gideon shook his head. By the time I knew he'd be my brother, he was near dead. I buried him. Tell me more, begged Pascal. That'll be all to tell. What about the others? Do you remember their names? Not rightly. One brother dead. Pascal turned and stared at the man on the road. Was this man his lost brother? He cleared his throat. So much suffering. People were hungry at heart and hungry in body. He thought about the 12 slaves on their plantations who had starved last winter. That's why Mama had asked for more food. Pascal shivered.